And congratulations, sir. Your campaign for Uttar Pradesh certainly has borne fruit. There is Mani Shankar who's saying that the Congress is facing an existential crisis. Let me slightly flip that argument in favor of the Bharatiya Janata Party and ask you that how does it work for the BJP henceforth? Are all state elections going to be fought in the face of one single man, that's Narendra Modi?
No, I will put it the other way around. I think this is the unfolding of a new chapter in the history of Indian democracy. You would have realized from the voting pattern in Uttar Pradesh that the voter today has come of age. He's learned to rise above considerations of caste, creed, religion and vote for Vikas, for development, for a future India. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And I think to inspire this kind of a new emancipation in a democracy and to yearn for democracy in its true sense was required for many years, and Prime Minister Modi has provided the inspiration for that, of course, coupled with the organizational skills of Amit Bhai Modi. Secondly,
Amit Bhai Modi,
which may not be music to the ears of many of the Congress leaders,
everyone is a Modi
that
today.
For generations together, election after election, there was to a lesser or a greater extent some kind of feudal influence in the voting pattern. Voting for grandfather, then father or mother, and then son. And I think this liberation from that compulsion of dynastic succession was required for further growth of democracy.
So you moved, sir, from one dynasty. You moved from one dynasty to one man. You know, while dynasty which was being led by one family has to be questioned. Should this be questioned as well, that you're being led by one man today?
You have to have a man. See, no, I'll tell you. I draw a difference between the compulsion of dynastic succession. Now you are an accomplished journalist. Your son qualifies to become a journalist, applies for a channel, not your channel, maybe other channel, gets selected. You can't say he's a dynastic patrakar. He's a journalist by his own right. He's one man who's a journalist. But if you, even before giving birth to your child, foresee that he has to become as accomplished a journalist as you, regardless of the merit, that is the compulsion of dynastic succession. And may I point out, from a scientific logic, being a student of science, that this dynastic compulsion is now taking the toll of Congress.
Mr. Singh, if I may move away,
sir,
from the issues of dynastic compulsions and talk about the road ahead, sir. And the assumption is, as you rightly pointed out, that with this victory, the BJP has proved that it is about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, it is about development. What does then that translate into future reforms, into the path towards development? You developed cold feet as far as the land bill was concerned. You brought in 2 ordinances and then finally decided to dump it and let the state governments do their own thing. There are question marks on whether this will now force the government to push ahead further and faster on the issue of labour reforms, which has been talked about ad nauseum for several years. What is this finally going to mean now in terms of the new development agenda?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because that also induces some thought provocation, and rightly so. See, what is important now to understand is that the people of India have demonstrated trustworthiness in the approach of the Modi government, which is, I think, evident from the fact that just about 2 or 3 months prior to the crucial assembly polls, Prime Minister had the courage of conviction to announce this remonetization decision, which no elected government would normally do. But people, notwithstanding the initial hardship, came forward because they trusted what the Prime Minister had done for them and announced for them. And therefore, I think this trustworthiness and credibility is going to be the biggest asset and advantage for the Modi government to carry forward the reform program. Now, you pointed out to certain reforms because we had certain constraints within the parliament, the constraints of numbers also, particularly in Rajya Sabha.
Yes, and because the Rajya Sabha arithmetic is set to change as well, sir.
Yes, I agree with you with the manner with which the configuration of the states' assemblies is changing. We will be able to overcome that hassle or hurdle even in Rajya Sabha.
So from a legislative point of view, sir, land, that was one of the key legislations that you developed cold feet on and decided to shelve that, even though you had done 2 ordinances on it. What are the other crucial legislations that you now believe can be resurrected and taken forward, given the fact that you have now the Rajya Sabha arithmetic working in your favor?
Yeah, you are entitled to ask me that. I'm not sure whether I should be going to detail at this point in time. But yes, GST is one important reform which has been waiting for a long time. And I'm sure the other parties would also now become wiser enough to take the right course.
Sir,